When light enters the membrane, the reaction happens on top of the thylakoid. Water enters the membrane through a process called osmosis. High energy electrons are produced by light energy from low energy electrons from water molecules. Hydrogen ions and oxygen are produced when water molecules are split to replace those electrons. And then oxygen is released into the atmosphere for animals to breathe. Energy generated uses the hydrogen plus ions across the thylakoid membrane and into the thylakoid space. NADPH produces NADP produces NADPH from high energy electrons. As the thylakoid space fills up with positively charged hydrogen ions, inside of the thylakoid membrane becomes positively charged relative to the outside of the membrane. Hydrogen plus ions pass back through the thylakoid membrane through ATP synthase. As the ions pass through, the ATP synthase molecule rotates and the energy produced is used to make ADP and ADP. Carbon dioxide enters the membrane, and 6 carbon dioxide molecules from the atmosphere are combined with 6 5-carbon molecules in the very first step of the cycle. This produces 12 3-carbon compounds. Energy from the ATP and high energy electrons from NADPH are used to convert the three carbon molecules to higher energy forms. 2 of these 3 carbon molecules are removed from the cycle to produce sugar, lipids, and amino acids and other compounds. The remaining 3 carbon molecules are converted back into the 5 carbon forms that are used to start the cycle again. Glucose enters the cytoplasm of the outside the mitochondria, and 2 ATP molecules are used up and put into a quote-unquote account, and glycolysis produces 4 ATP, so it gains 2 ATP in total. Glycolysis removes 4 electrons from glucose and passes it to NAD, which makes it NADH, and it holds it until the electrons are transferred to other molecules. Then glycolysis breaks glucose down into 2 more molecules, which creates pyruvate acid. Goes through a cycle called the Krebs cycle, but is first stripped of 2 high energy electrons to create NADH from NAD from the production of carbon dioxide. ATP, NADH, and FAD2 is produced after the acetyl CoA. What's left combines with a 4-carbon molecule to create citric acid, and then enters the Krebs cycle. We use carbon dioxide as the 4-carbon molecule, and it creates citric acid that enters the Krebs cycle twice because glycolysis produces 2 molecules from the acid from each glucose molecule. It breaks down into 5-carbon compound and then 4-carbon compound, releasing 2 carbon dioxide molecules. Then it's left with the first 4-carbon molecule that can combine with acetyl CoA. The energy released by breaking and rearranging the carbon bond is captured in the forms of ATP, NADH, and FADH. The electron transport chain uses high energy electrons transported by the carrier molecules NADH from both the Krebs cycle and glycolysis, and FADH from the Krebs cycle to convert ADP into ATP. The NAD ADH and a FADH is stripped of their high energy electrons are stripped of their high energy electrons through a chain which shoots the hydrogen plus ions into intermembrane space, and then ATP synthase pumps the hydrogen ions back into the matrix and uses the energy created to convert ADP to ATP. And the Krebs cycle takes place in the matrix.